When we last saw the American Le Mans Series, BMW was celebrating a victory at Charlotte. The Tour moved overseas in May to the Silverstone circuit in England, where again the sleek white BMW graced the winner's circle, running a near-flawless race after most of its rivals encountered problems. June brought the famed Le Mans 24-hour race in France. Audi avoided the pitfalls of racing twice around the clock, combining a lightning-fast new car with unprecedented preparation to sweep the top 3 spots in the world's most famous sports car race. Then it was on to Germany in the Nürburgring. Rain created treacherous track conditions that got the best of the favored Audis and the BMWs. Jan Magnussen made a brilliant drive for Team Panos to score the victory. Back in the U.S. 2 weeks ago, Audi returned to form at Sears Point, with Alan McNish blazing to a commanding win by a full lap over the field. Now it's the historic Mosport circuit in Canada next. Coverage of the American Le Mans Series resumes today north of the border in Canada. It's the GlobeMegaWheels.com Grand Prix of Mosport, where the exotic $1 million sports cars from makes like Audi, BMW, Porsche, and Dodge will be wheeled by top drivers from throughout the United States and countries around the world. Hi, Alan Bestwick here, about 70 miles to the east of Toronto at Mosport International Raceway, where the American Le Mans Series today reaches the midway point of its 2000 campaign. And the chase for the series championship quite interesting so far. BMW drivers Jorg Muller and JJ Lehto lead the standings, but it's the drivers from 5th place Frank Biela on down that have everyone's attention. They are the drivers for the mighty Audi team that have been holding everyone's rapt attention of late. My partner for the call of today's race is Bill Adam, a man who knows this racetrack so very well. Mosport, a place he's run many races at over the years, including this one back in 1983 when he drove this Jaguar to victory with teammate Bob Tullius. A very happy day for Adam. Now, the haircut's a little different today, but the racetrack is much the same. Welcome.
I couldn't afford one back then.
Yeah, there you go.
This is a very special place, and I'll tell you, right now, Audi is the car to beat. This is a supremely well-engineered car, a well-oiled team, and it is blindingly fast with great reliability. And maybe one of the real strengths of this car all season long has been its ability to absorb bumps. It just is superior. And that brings us to this track. This is a bumpy, extremely high-speed track. It intimidates the best drivers in the world. The combination is awesome, but because of all the elevation changes and all the blind corners, anything can happen. It has happened in the past, and this isn't a runaway quite yet.
Should be a wild and exciting race. Let's get more stories from the grid. Here are our pit reporters, Steve Evans and Martin Haven.
Ladies and gentlemen, feast your eyes on the most technically advanced sports car the world has ever seen, the Audi R8. Twin turbocharged V8 for power. It will be started today by Frank Biela of Monaco, Le Mans champion. Frank, your biggest concern other than competition has to be the weather.
Yes, of course. I mean, we had a few days of testing here and free practice sessions and everything, but we always had dry conditions, and now if the weather changes just for the race, it's for sure a very difficult situation. So I hope it stays dry.
Have a safe ride. And folks, how much fun is this going to be? Right next door to the Audi? The awesome front-engine Panos car, Ford V8 for power, the team that won here 1 year ago. For more, Martin Haven.
Thanks, Steve. You know, in the classes here, we've already seen the status quo interrupted in qualifying. Ron Fellows had to almost beg Chevrolet to bring a Corvette here to the GTS race. He's done them proud by qualifying it on pole. The first time the all-conquering Chrysler Vipers have not been the fastest cars in the field. And in the GT class, well, BMW won last time out. Last year's champion Alex Job Racing's car is on pole position for Porsche. And the Works Porsche drivers, they crashed both of Dick Barber Racing's 911s in practice. Anything could still happen here. Well, to find out how these stories and all the others pan out, first we've got to get this show on the road.
Drivers, start your engines.
Let's take a look at the Audi track map.
A little under 2.5 miles and 10 turns that strike fear into every driver's heart. This track is intimidation. On the front straight here, we're inside with Boris Said and the BMW. Watch what happens up ahead. As you go down into turn 1, you can't even see where you start turning in. The car is sliding at about this point. feet on full power, and right over onto these bumps. A really tricky area up ahead. Jackie Stewart called this corner the most difficult, the most dangerous in the world. All the way out to the edge, a double apex here, feeding back under throttle, almost 130 miles an hour before braking and dropping a gear into turn 3. A long corner, another blind one. At this point, you're full throttle again, trying to hold the car off that curbing there. Grab one more gear, back up to 135 miles an hour, briefly off it, and this turn has changed from last year, but up ahead, the famous Moss corner. A critical turn because here you want to set up the best exit possible, carrying speed up what this should be is a straight. They call this the straight, but look at it. But it is the only chance you get on this track to take a breath at all. You're climbing up the hills here. Look in the mirror. See who's trying to pass you. Watch up ahead to see who you have to pass. And way up ahead, over that rise, right there is your final braking area into an ultra high-speed turn 8. Just to stab on the brakes, drop a couple gears, and then carry a lot of speed up through here. 120 miles an hour, down another gear right here. The car wants to get over sideways, drop a gear. Look at him. He fights the wheel. He's got to keep that thing in line. And up here, turn 10, our last corner leading on to the start-finish straight. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a racetrack.
And a very difficult and very breathtaking course the drivers will face in today's race. You see the field beginning to roll off now from their positions along the grid. One lap back around to the green flag, and we'll get started with this afternoon's Grand Prix of Mosport. Now time for a look at the Dodge starting lineup. On pole, the Audi R8 of Le Mans winner Frank Villa and Emanuele Puro, new track record speed alongside the Panos of Jan Magnussen and David Brabham, winners at Nürburgring. The second Audi of McNish and Capello starting in third position, with the second Panos of Johnny O'Connell and Hiroki Kato starting in fourth. Disappointing qualifying for BMW. JJ Lehto starts fifth position. In sixth, it's Stefan Johansson who will start in the Reynard. Starting seventh, California's Bill Auberlin in the second of the BMW cars. And in eighth position, it's North Carolina's Jim Matthews, who starts with Mark Simo in a Reynard. The top GTS qualifier was ninth overall. It is Ron Fellows, the Canadian, in the General Motors Corvette. And the top GT qualifier, in a surprise, the Alex Job Racing Porsche. Randy Post qualifying there, outrunning the favored Dick Barber Porsches and the fleet of BMWs. The Barber cars, the 51 machine starting in 13th and the 5 in 18th. And keep an eye on the car starting 15th, Hans Stuck and Boris Said in one of the BMW M3s. Look at the rest of the starting field. A couple of notables who are not here, including the Raffinelli team machine, had a heavy crash in Saturday morning practice and was withdrawn. Its driver Didier de Rodriguez injured a fractured vertebra in his lower back. Glad to report he'll be okay, but the team has withdrawn the car from today's race. Stay with us. We'll be right back to Mosport in just a minute. All right, we're getting set to go. We mentioned weather conditions a couple of times. Let's tell you that there is rain threatening. It's not raining now. It is a dry course, but the forecast says it could come in at any time. And if you're not familiar with sports car racing and American Le Mans Series competition, they don't stop in the rain. They'll keep on going.
They really do, particularly on this track, because it's such an old circuit and an old surface that it really doesn't have the grip that modern pavement can give. Now, Don Panos is the owner of this circuit nowadays, and he has repaved a number of areas of it and has changed a number of areas to make it a lot safer track. But it is tremendously slippery in the rain. Just watching the Panos there come off the hairpin a moment ago, I saw him try and give some throttle, whatever gear he was in, and instantly got wheel spin. You can also see the amount of shine from the headlights on that road. That alone, without having any rain laid down so far, just look how shiny that road is. That's a very smooth piece of pavement.
So if it gets wet and in the rain, it will be extremely slick.
Skating rink.
With the terrific rain tires that the manufacturers will bolt onto these cars. So, how will the weather affect the race? We'll find out over the next couple of hours as the field comes to the final corner. We're set to go racing. It is the sixth event of 12 in the American Le Mans Series season. The GlobeMegaWheels.com Grand Prix of Mosport. Pace car is off. Audi and Panos on the front row coming down for the start.
Oh, contact!
Before they even get the green flag.
Amazing, and that really is wheel spin. I would watch for something. They have to be so careful on this lap. That shows you how little traction they all have right now. Look at the Audis over the bumps again. Remember we talked about that. The Panos a lot stiffer, a lot harder to handle on these bumps. The Audis this year have been astonishingly good on bumpy sections.
See the yellow flags up around the course. The start has been waved off. It was not a good start. In fact, I was kind of surprised the field was single file when they came off the corner. Nobody was doubled up at all, so the start has been waved off. You'll see the corner marshals with the yellow flags up as they come back around. There it is, yellow flags up, and we'll get another start in just a moment. Let's take another look at this start that was really wild.
I think what happened is that the Audi got a little bit of wheel spin, come over and bumped the Panos, and the Panos thought, nah, I'm not going to have any of that. Just a little more intimidation. Now here, on board, watch the Audi on the right. Look at right there.
Wow.
All of a sudden, he got on it, just come over to the edge. Didn't really mean to hit the Panos, but at that point, your blood gets going. You want to get by him.
So that was on board with Jon Magnussen, who really got a scare there before he even got to the green flag. Almost got punted off the course by Frank Biela in the Audi. So the field making its way back around now into the final corners of the course. And wait and see what happens here. I believe the start has been waved off and the yellow flag should be up, but it looks like they're sure at full song.
Yeah, you know what? I've got a feeling. Oh, look at the Audi. Dives down the inside. Oh, wow, what a move. That really was a bit of a shock. And I think what may have happened is that they might have been holding the yellow flags out because of the slippery nature of this surface. Try and give the drivers just an added degree of safety going around. That caught all of us by surprise.
I'll tell you, Bill, though, the communication we're getting from series officials are that this is still no start. The yellow flags are still up around the course. So I'm trying to figure out just, truthfully, what's going on here.
Well, if that's the case...
There's the hand up with McNish. He's got the hand up signifying that we're going to slow this thing down.
Yeah, that's kind of amazing. He could have set himself up for a penalty right then. Passing under yellow is a violation under any race body. One of the reasons, for those of you at home asking, why are these guys trying to go so fast if they're under yellow flag? Well, they want to try and generate as much temperature in their tires as possible, just to give themselves that much more safety. When race tires are up to full temperature, they have terrific grip. But when they're cold, they are worse than your street tires. These things just skate across pavement until they get hot.
No confusion at the start of our Grand Prix of Mosport here. And we're going to line them up and do it again.
Here we look at this view is looking down the, quote, back straight. It is not much of a straight, but it's the only breath that you can get. And right now, trying to keep what little temperature they've generated. What the Panos is doing right there is actually going to keep a little bit more temperature in the tires than the other ones.
So while we get the field reformed, let's take a break here. We'll come back for the restart, or actually the start, in just a moment. You're watching the American Le Mans Series on Speed Vision. We're back in Mosport, getting ready for the restart in the American Le Mans Series Grand Prix of Mosport. You see Jon Magnussen once again ducking up to the outside of Frank Biela for what is supposed to be a double file start. Here we go, green flag.
It's a great one, too. Look at Magnussen. He is going to push the Audi all the way down into turn one, but cannot hold off. Again, the ability of the Audi to absorb the bumps. And there at the exit, see how the cars bounce over there? That potentially is so dangerous and so heart-stopping for all of the drivers. You're coming off this corner at about 125, 130 miles an hour under full throttle. 650, 700 horsepower is trying really hard to pitch your car sideways. Not a good fun spot there with the bumps.
Remember that we said the weather is going to be an issue. You see a couple of dots on the camera lens there. We have a report there may be some rain sprinkling in a couple of sections on the course. So that will give the drivers fits as they go through these opening laps. You watch the 77 car, the yellow-winged Audi there, being driven by Alan McNish, winner at Sears Point last race out, trying to put a move for second spot on Jon Magnussen in the red Panos.
Oh, and Magnussen got a great draft.
Race lead.
He's got a sensational draft up the straight, but now can he outbrake him? No, the Audi dives in deeper into turn 8, 135 miles an hour through this corner here, then just a stab on the brakes, drop a gear, and then back up here onto this quick little corner that leads onto the front straight. Watch the difference between the red car, and now here we're on board Magnussen. This will just show you how hard he is fighting. Look at the sequential gearbox. He'll just be moving that gear lever straight back, down through here, 125, 130, 135, and then another hard acceleration, almost 150 before right there. Stab the brakes, and look at this. The world falls away. Talk about getting your heart in your mouth.
Now Magnussen goes from challenging Frank Biela for the race lead to having to fight off McNish for second. Maybe Biela just slipped up off the Moss corner there, up the backside of the course.
Yeah, quite possible. We know that the Panos has got excellent power and has always had the ability to put that power down very well. But, you know, I'm going to keep harping on this suspension thing all day long. For the viewers at home, watch the difference between the Panos in second place there, particularly on the back, and watch how it kind of chatters. It bounces up and down very quickly. Then, at the same spots, when you see the Panos go over top, watch the Audis, either the first or third place cars, and watch how smooth they seem. There,
and
you
watch
can see
that camera lens, too.
Oh, my heaven. This place is going to be treacherous when the rains do. They are going to come. We're just hoping that they hold off as long as possible. through turn 10. A little concrete strip on the inside, which also turns like glass.
So the front 6 and 7 cars all running fairly close together in these opening laps. Biela in the Audi leading, the red-winged of the two Audis. Running second is Magnussen in the Panos, the red car. Then it's McNish in the Audi. Then O'Connell in the second Panos, and then the first of the BMWs with Lato aboard. The white car that'll just flash in and out of the back of your picture here while we follow the leaders around.
And we know that Magnussen is very, very good in the rain. He was nothing short of spectacular at the Nürburgring. We recorded that great victory for Panos. Just tremendous. And that, of course, the rain at Nürburgring gave fits to the Audis, as it did to everybody. There were more spins than a barnyard dance.
And you heard Frank Biela say when Steve Evans talked to him on the grid, his only concern today so far was the weather.
Yes.
All their testing has been in dry. They have no idea what this car will do under wet conditions at this racetrack.
No, and for new viewers watching this, there's a huge difference in the setup you can make on a race car between the ideal wet and the ideal dry setup. On a smooth, fast track, you want the car set up really about as stiff as you can possibly stand it. But for rain, you want the car's suspension to absorb as much of the bump as possible. So you would totally change your spring and shock absorber setup. That is not something you can do in the middle of the race. So one of the things that I'm curious about is, would any of the two-car teams have gambled on maybe making a little bit different setup for their second car? With Audi, it doesn't look like, since they're both able to hold station pretty well equally. I think they're both set up for a dry track.
We'll find out.
It could be very interesting.
Biela, Magnussen, McNish, your top three. O'Connell just there at the back of the picture in fourth. As we work the opening laps here at Mosport in this Grand Prix for the American Le Mans Series. Beginning to put a little distance on fourth place. There's McNish, winner at Sears Point. What a drive he made in the last race out a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
Won by a full lap over the field. His team car finished in second, and he was a full lap ahead of them.
He just put on the performance of his lifetime. I think it was just a really brilliant job. Drove perfectly on another very difficult circuit. Another one of the great Scottish drivers, Alan McNish.
He was very, very aggressive in that race. Aggressive enough to get the attention of some of his fellow drivers who said he bordered from aggressive to crazy. But McNish right now running a solid third in the second of the Audis. In the early going of the Grand Prix of Mosport for the American Le Mans Series, Audi with Frank Biela leads. We'll come back with more in a minute. Here in Mosport, we are under a full course caution, actually wrapping it up. Here's the cause of the full course caution. It's up at Moss Corner.
Yeah, coming down here, you can see one car just getting loose under braking, making heavy contact with the Dick Barber car. That's the Wallach and Bassett car. The car that caused it was into the pits, but the problem is much more than just that. Got a punctured radiator up front, something that's dragging on the tire, effectively really knocking him down.
That is Bob Wallach, the French veteran who got hit by Rudy Bartling. Now, pit stops here under the caution flag. Many of the leaders came in, not because they needed fuel, but because it started raining.
And it's a big gamble at this point. You get a number of different tires available. The tires that these fellows are putting on right now, the number one car initially went to an intermediate tire. This is more or less a slick that has a couple of grooves put in it just to try and get rid of some of the water buildup. But I don't think that works, because a lot of the other cars, the number two car, for example, we heard from the pits, they did go to a full wet setup, and the BMWs have gone to full wet. So JJ Lato, who also is one really fine rain driver, is on full tread, full depth wet tires.
Let's take a look at a pit summary and show you who has come in and who has not at this point, and what some of the teams did as we get set to come to the green flag. Well, here goes the pace car off. We're going to go back at it and get the restart.
Oh, and this, oh, look at the Panos in the background. The Panos spun coming out of turn 10. We saw them. You can see there's another car sideways. There's cars all over the place. There's a waving yellow in the background there.
Looks like one of the Alex Joe cars. There it is. That is the Mike Fitzgerald car.
I was about to say, this is such a dangerous time, because rain tires like slicks, you have to get hot. You've got to get something to help you get grip on the pavement. And as the rain tires are cold from them circulating behind this yellow flag, they're treacherous to drive on. Watch how careful they have to be here. You've just got to have kid gloves on as you're driving.
Let's get out to Martin Haven, who has more on the tire selections and strategies. Martin?
Well, we'll scrub that because the 5-car Dick Barber's lead works Porsche-driven car has just come in with frontal damage. They've been off as well. What the tyre technicians are saying is because the age of the pavement here at Mosport dates back to the 60s for most parts, it gets much, much wetter than ordinary racetracks, and it gets slick almost instantly any moisture is on it. So intermediates are almost a bigger gamble than going to full wets, and that's what a number of the cars did straight away, including the BMWs, and that's proved to be a good choice, not only because it's got to rain harder, but also, as Alan McNish pointed out quite saliently out of turn 10 a couple of laps ago, intermediates are just not enough even when you've got a bit of drizzle as we have now.
The only word that keeps popping into my mind right here, Bill, is just chaos. There is chaos on the racetrack. There are cars crashed everywhere. There are cars in the pits, out of the pits, different tire strategies. The whole running order's been jumbled. That's the number 6 BMW of Brian Simo and Johannes van Overbeek that has gotten off course and into the outside wall.
I'm sure he's gotten the outside wall too, just because of a problem with the traction. Here's a replay, the number 22 car trying to go down turn 2. Look how loose this is. Incredible. He's trying desperately, keeps his foot on the throttle, and finally, get his foot on it, try and stop this thing from sliding, and you can see that he didn't slide very much off the pavement, but it is so slippery.
That's Atlanta driver Mike Fitzgerald there, who went for the double ride all in the course of a same lap. Now, here is the lead group. It is basically the 2 Panos machines and the 2 BMWs, but look at how careful they're all being on the slick racetrack.
Yeah, and one of the things that's going to come into play here, there's the BMW parked off the outside, so he has spun a 180, and look at the Audi. I don't know if he's going to make that or not. The 1 Panos, gee whiz, this is, it's such a nervy position at this point. Now, the 1 Panos appears to be visibly going very, very, look at this.
Challenge for the lead.
Wow.
Here comes Magnussen. He's just going to go right around Vila, who looks like he's off the pace.
Holy man, well that is...
He just wave him through?
That's almost like in a different class right there. Magnussen is flying right now. He just rocketed away, and the team car has also gone by. There might be a problem with that Audi. I wonder if he is finally going to come in and go to a full wet setup himself. He may have stayed on intermediate tires just a little too long.
Remember that in the Nürburgring race that we showed you just a snippet of in our opening, that was a wet race. The Audis, the BMWs all had problems. They had spins off course, and it was Jan Magnussen and the Panos, that car right there, who made an absolutely brilliant drive and scored the win.
He did, and I think we're going to see that other Audi come into pits. Oh, there's a hand up. Now, that's probably because of a yellow flag. That's McNish warning following drivers. His rear vision must be so bad. He's putting his hand up, warning them, hey, there's a yellow, don't pass, don't hit.
Safety car is coming out onto the course, possibly to go pick up that BMW that we saw up against the wall there on the Andretti straight.
I'm sure you're right, Alan. I think that's a perfect call.
So, full course caution number 2 in the opening laps of this Grand Prix of Mosport. It's been chaotic so far. Who knows what's going to happen? We'll come back with more of the GlobeMegaWheels.com Grand Prix of Mosport in just a minute on Speed Vision. Back at Mosport, green flag is in the air after the stuck BMW was removed from the side of the course. We're racing once again. Down to the inside comes Alan McNish in the Audi, jumps ahead of Jan Magnussen for the race lead.
Boy, and Magnussen had a huge power slide coming off turn 1 there, tried to get power down. McNish did a great job. Ideally, you want to try and get out back because look how clear his visibility, comparatively clear.
Yeah.
It's still a lousy day, but he doesn't have the spray from other cars throwing up added water into his visibility. Magnussen, however, again, go back to Nürburgring and look how fast he was. Disregard that little thing you see being thrown up there, folks. A piece of tape or something that's on the road. It's been run over a number of times. It's not dangerous at all. There's a Viper. It looks like it's getting some pretty good traction coming through turn 3, actually past one of the prototypes.
Stories at this point, the weather obviously making track conditions extremely treacherous. Look at Magnussen just tiptoeing around that corner back there in the Panos. And the fact that the other of the Audis, the Frank Biela machine, came down pit road under this yellow and made a change of tires. It has dropped him back into the field to 12th position. He'll try and pick his way back up through the traffic now. But what they did basically is went from one brand of rain tires, one cut of rain tires to another.
Yeah, it's one of the great gambles because you're never sure how long the rain is going to last or how bad it's going to get. Do you go to intermediates that are almost like slicks but with a few grooves, or do you go to a full wet tire that have a lot more grooves for greater water dissipation?
Gave up the track position to get the full wets. Now he's going to pick his way back through some of the traffic. There's one of the BMWs coming through. Here's the GTS leader. Ron Fellows there. in the yellow Corvette, and just behind him comes one of the BMWs, Bill Oberlin, with a big slide. Going around.
Oh, boy, and he's hard in the wall. I think we're going to get another pace car right here and that fast.
That should be Jim Matthews in the Reynard.
Yeah, I think that is Jim for sure. I can see the black and white striped helmet there. That's the Reynard that's banged in. Potentially dangerous situation if somebody else happens to do the same thing, which there have been a number of incidents like that. That is Jim.
Just touched the throttle a little too much off the corner, broke traction, and off he goes. There's one of the BMWs off.
Oh, gee, a number 7 car.
That's his
Stuck Sport.
Boris, that's Hans Stuck.
That's Hans driving right now.
And he's going very slowly.
Maybe he's coming in to get some new tires on. Come on, Jim, get that thing moving. You can see
he's being waved off by one of the sports car officials there, telling him just to leave it there.
Yeah, they're telling him that the back wheel is on such an angle, he won't be able to go anyplace.
Here's another look.
Look at the BMW. He can get just barely any traction. And in the background, now, hard into that wall. That is exactly what happened to the Olive Garden car, one of our regular competitors. Didier de Radagast came off that turn in the dry, was unable to get power smoothly down. It just vaulted the car back over to this wall, and as usual, concrete doesn't move very far.
Radagast suffering a fractured vertebrae in his back, and that team withdrawing that car, and Jim Matthews obviously done for the day after the crash to the inside wall off turn number 10. So, here comes the safety car one more time to pick up leader Alan McNish. It has been a very halting first portion of this Grand Prix of Mosport, as rain has just thrown this race into chaos. Cars spinning and crashing everywhere all over the track. We'll take a break, come back with more of Speed Vision's coverage of the American Le Mans Series from Mosport in just a minute. In Bowmanville, Ontario, you're looking at the new leader of the GlobeMegaWheels.com Grand Prix of Mosport. It is Jan Magnussen in the Paynos. While we were away, things have gotten interesting once again. A race that has been strangely chaotic from the start, first by the weather, now by a penalty. Alan McNish, the race leader, there in that car, has just climbed back to second place. He was the leader a moment ago when we went to the break. He went down pit lane because of a problem. Black flag.
The black flag for passing under flag. It really was something that he knew right away that he did it. He waved the car back around, but unfortunately that doesn't cover his moment of indiscretion. Another one of the many spins today, and this is another portion that this track, again, just to re-emphasize, keep in mind, these are some of the best drivers in the world. If they are having problems with their cars, just think what it would be like if you had some of the drivers from your city driving around. Oh, my.
Yeah, looking at Jan Magnussen and now McNish, who's made an absolutely brilliant drive back. He went only back to 5th position by the stop-and-go penalty on the black flag, but he has wasted no time in dusting off 4th, 3rd, and now 2nd, and he's closing on Magnussen at an incredible rate.
Yeah, well, keep in mind, Alan McNish is from Scotland, and this is what would be termed a hot, sunny day in Scotland. He'd have all kinds of sunblock on for this weather, so he's used to it.
And he's about to put a lap on his team car. That's Frank Biela in the other Audi off to the off-line part of the racetrack, going a lap down. Biela's got all kinds of problems. He spun on the last restart a minute ago. We were away in the break when that happened. Fell all the way back toward the tail end of the field. Has not really made a lot of success in picking his way back through. So the pole-sitting car of Le Mans winner Frank Biela in all kinds of trouble, while his teammate McNish...
Whoa. Boy, McNish just got a real wiggle right there going up the straight. That's the kind of thing that doubles your heart rate about that fast.
He is pressing hard to try and retake the lead from Jan Magnussen.
You know, this is one of these times with all of the Audi, but not just the Audi drivers. I think every driver in the field would be wishing they had the Quattro system on their car, so they're not worried about just putting horsepower down with rear wheels only. Frank Biela spent a lot of time driving the Audi Quattros in the sedan series in Europe, and I'm sure he's thinking back to the fond days of not having to worry about wheel spin.
McNish closing quickly on Magnussen for the race lead, taking that real tight line off turn number 10. Let's see if he makes the bid here. Well, not quite close enough, but it won't be long. You see the scoring serial on McNish, 14th, up to 2nd.
He has been beautiful to watch, too. Other than that little wiggle off the hairpin, he just doesn't seem to be having any problem with this track. This is really impressive. Now, as he gets closer and closer to the Paynos, keep in mind these huge tunnels underneath the car, and you can see the wall of water that throws up. His visibility will decrease more. And now, like right there, for example, he would have dreadful visibility. Oh, God, look at that car just wiggling again.
Dreadful grip, too. As he tries to stay tucked in the draft of the Panos and find a way around him. Here they come sweeping through turn number 4. Heavy braking here. This is Moss Corner, the double right-hand turn number 5.
You can see they've taken dramatically different lines to back out on the straight. Magnussen, keep in mind that the job he did at the Nürburgring in the rain, it was just about as bad as you can get. It was a very cold day, lots of rain and very slippery conditions. He drove brilliantly. He is now fighting off, and you can bet that his crew has told him that the Audi is on his tail. But that's a great shot. The camera shot right there kind of showed the visibility or the lack of visibility these guys have. It's just about zero. It's as bad as you can imagine.
Magnussen squeezing to the inside of Olivier Beretta there.
I think that shows how competitive he is. He wants to try and get by Beretta as quickly as possible. Maybe use Beretta as a little bit of a blocking back, but that didn't last very long. McNish slamming up the inside, and again coming down at turn 1.
Just clearing that inside wall, trying to stay offline.
Yeah. In fact, that's a great successful move that he did right there. He was able to stay way offline, not quite close enough to make a pass, but that's what he has to do. And I think perhaps turn 3 is going to be a place to do it. Again, a slide off the back of the Audi. On the next corner, on the outside of this particular corner, where McNish is right now, there is noticeably more grip. And see if he can get a run on the Panos off the corner as this turn. Now he ducks back to the inside. And I don't think he's close enough.
This is awful risky business, though, isn't it? I mean, there's still a long time left to go in this race. It's awful risky to be pressing this hard at this point.
But part of it is that with Magnussen being up front, he is in the safer of the 2 positions right now because his vision is so much clearer. So McNish would like to take over that position just to get rid of the spray. And the other thing, too, is that when you're following a car, you always stand a chance of getting involved in his mistake. If Magnussen happens to miss some sort of a little key, look at this shot again. Look at that. You can hardly see the back of the Panos. Just in the Audi, too, they almost disappear in the mist.
I'm thinking here that McNish has just decided that running up that close to Magnussen was just a little too dicey at this point. Because see how much he's dropped back off him? Okay, let's ride, let's pace him, let's sit in second for a while, get to the next pit stop, and maybe turn it over to my pit crew, see if they can get me out quicker.
This is the kind of weather where you're looking forward to your pit stop and you can say, right, it's your turn. You can go out and play in this awful weather.
Well, just as I say that, here he comes back up on the back deck again. Let's see if he makes the move here. Off turn 1, headed for the double apex, turn 2.
Not quite.
Just needing the slightest slip by Magnussen, but making sure he doesn't get collected in that slip, like you were saying a minute ago.
It is so close, but he's driving so intelligently right now, not risking the car. He's hoping that Magnussen will see his headlights and maybe get a little bit rattled, go offline just by a couple of feet. Now, he can't make a pass here, not a chance. Down this used to be a steep downhill corner here to turn 4. Heavy braking coming uphill into turn 5. And the last little flick to the right here, leading out of the back straight. Mario Andretti. Oh, and McNish made a big error right there. Look, suddenly now he's dropped back 4 or 5 car lengths. Just the tiniest error of getting a foot or 2 offline, you lose the grip where all of the cars had been traveling. You're suddenly on a fairly fresh pavement, much more of a puddle.
So dramatic racing in the rain here at Mosport as Jan Magnussen leads under heavy pressure from Alan McNish. Today we're in Mosport, outside of Toronto, Canada, and the weather has played absolute havoc with this Grand Prix of Mosport. There's the new leader of the race, Alan McNish, the Scotsman, who we saw get the stop-and-go penalty earlier, then powered his way back up to put pressure on Jan Magnussen for the lead. Here's the pass at which he got the top spot.
It was pretty slick coming off this final corner. Look at this. You see the Panos get loose just for a moment. McNish's in a straight line. He's already got the power well and truly applied. It was all over. Now look at this from the back view. A real good straight line. Part of the secret of wet weather driving is to get the car as straight as possible. Obviously not what happened here. This was later on. Magnussen was pushing very, very hard, as they both are. Lost it coming off. That's turn 3 right there. Got it turned around and bumped up against there. Now that's the other Panos.
That's the other Panos. That's O'Connell.
So they are both having problems today on this track. It is just, it's horrible. I mean, try and imagine somebody comes to you and says, all right, I'm going to give you this 700 horsepower race car. You're going to have an open top, and I'm going to give you a good slippery track to drive it on. Would you be interested?
It's been a brutal day here at Mosport. You saw heavy damage there for Magnussen. Fortunately, he's okay. The other Panos into the outside barrier there at turn 3 with Johnny O'Connell aboard. So that team's hopes have been significantly dimmed here in the Grand Prix of Mosport today. Now, let's touch back for a minute on the other two production-based classes that are in today's race. We haven't really had a chance to talk about them. There's been so much happening with the lead cars. There's Ron Fellows, who started on pole in the GTS class, or the car that Fellows started. Andy Pilgrim has just gotten aboard. They are no longer the leader in that class. Steve Evans, what happened?
Well, let's ask Ron Fellows. You're no longer the leader in the class. Can you get it back?
I hope so. Andy will do a great job, I'm sure. We kind of got mixed up on that pit stop there. It looks like to me they, just after I went by through turn 9, they opened the pits. And we didn't get in that. So we're trying to figure out whether or not it was actually open. I thought it looked to me like it was closed, but after I went by, it opened because the car ducked in behind me. But anyway, it's...
Speaking of open and closed, will you get back in that car?
I'm not sure. If you can go, it's so slick here, you're not getting to the throttle much. You can go a long time on a tank of fuel. I'm sure Andy'd do a great job.
That's a keen little device, the inside wind chill wiper.
Haven't had to use it yet. It's just a fine mist. It's slicker than I can't tell you. I mean,
well, Andy's using it. He thanks you for it.
Okay, Steve. Well, you know, the Corvette's running great. I mean, that's a new compound Goodyear rain tire. Seems to work pretty well. I mean, I'm happy. We'll just see what happens the next hour and 20.
The man you would want in your race car here at Mosport in the rain, Alan.
Ron Fellows giving way to his teammate Andy Pilgrim and not getting quite close enough to the pit wall to get the fuel rig hooked up. Cost him some time, and so it has put the Viper of Olivier Beretta and Carl Wendlinger into top spot in GTS. Time for a break. We'll come back to Mosport with more in just a minute.
And have led from the pole from the word go. So they are having, well, I don't want to jinx them. They're having a good day so far.
Watching as Bruno Lambert drives that Porsche in some heavy traffic, and some of the other GTS cars and some of the prototype cars mixed in and among him, plus the rain that he's got to deal with. He's got his hands full today, running an 8th spot overall right now.
And one of their nemesis immediately ahead of him right there. You can just see the tail of the BMW. That's the one to watch. Look at this battle. Now, this is tremendous. This is Andy Pilgrim, who's taken over from Ron Fellows in the Corvette. He's going to do it right there. That's the top of turn 2. Oh, my heaven. You cannot pick a braver place to put a pass on. Pilgrim, just incredible. I'm sure the Viper did not expect anybody to try a pass right there. That was amazing.
Pilgrim by Carl Wendlinger in the Viper. So Corvette, who goes out on top in the GTS class, got some telemetry on board there with Andy Pilgrim.
Yeah, you can see, this is a big 7-liter Corvette. This is a blindingly fast car. Every time he goes by our broadcast booth, the ground is shaking. It thunders around the course here. Look at the G-force. It is down, but still, keep in mind, on a wet track, the car is pulling over at G as he goes around these corners. Now up the back straight, watch the acceleration climb. There's over 100 already, 110. Goes flying up straight. We lose a little bit of the telemetry because of the elevation changes up here, but it should pick up again up near the top of the straight. They'll be flying up the straight 155 miles an hour.
Let's check up on the Viper that has just lost the GTS class lead. Down to pit road and Steve Evans.
I don't even know if Olivier Beretta knows that his teammate has just lost the lead back to the Corvette.
Well, at this point, at the beginning of the race, the Dodge was very strong. During the dry, we were quicker. I overtake him and he was comfortable to go, I think. And after the rain came, and we stopped at the right time just to put the rain tires. And as soon as we go out, I have a lot of power understeer. It was very, very difficult to keep the car on the track. So I didn't push 100%. I just said, okay, stay on the track. For sure, there will be another pace car, and we will recatch. And that happened. And now we make an adjustment on the car, and we change also the tires, and this should be in a good direction. So anyway, it's good, it's fun, and it's very, very nice.
And I think we'll see their final pit stops, if there are any, pretty close together, Alan.
Yeah, and the big asterisk there from Steve, if there are any. We've had so many laps behind the safety car to this point in the race. The fuel mileage has been stretched incredibly on these machines, and that's certainly a story worth following up here is, can anybody go the distance to the finish on fuel from those last pit stops they made just a second ago under the caution flag while we were away in the commercial break?
I expected Beretta to talk about fuel there because he seemed to answer every question before Steve put it to him.
Yeah.
That was a most comprehensive answer by Olivier Beretta.
He's a brilliant driver to watch. Great fun to watch around here. And his co-driver, unfortunately right now, isn't nearly as fast as Beretta was. Pilgrim right now is running about 2 seconds a lap quicker than the Viper. So Andy Pilgrim doing a real stellar job with the Corvette right now.
And that is Carl Wendlinger in the Viper. Here comes Andy Pilgrim up off the corner. Now, over that car from Ron Fellows.
You know, interesting right there. Look at how the Viper is having problems coming up across the windshield. The rain is actually, shall I say, tapering off. I hate to jinx this right now, but it looks like his windshield is starting to dry, and you can see the Viper blade actually laboring.
We'll take a break, come back with more of Speed Vision's coverage of the American Le Mans Series from Mosport in just a minute. The GlobeMegaWheels.com Grand Prix of Mosport continuing. About 28 minutes of racing left here at Mosport International Raceway, about 70 miles east of Toronto. Looking at a great fight shaping up for the GTS class lead. It is held by Andy Pilgrim in the Corvette, but he is being quickly chased down by Carl Wendlinger in the Viper. There you see the interval distance between the two, just closing little bits at a time. Wendlinger is on Pilgrim in the Vet.
It's really good right now. Actually, the lap times have been very, very close. Wendlinger has been fractionally quicker, but the last couple of laps, Pilgrim has unfortunately come on traffic at just the wrong time, just enough to block him at critical spots, and that's allowed Wendlinger to get closer. Now, what this does for him is to just get the bit between his teeth a little bit more. He can see his quarry. That always inspires a driver. You just try that much harder when you can see who you're after.
And here comes the third place car in GTS. That is David Donahue in the other Team Oreca Viper. And he's not running all that far behind these two either. What, he's about 9 seconds behind Fellows, behind Pilgrim rather, the class leader.
Yeah, and in fact, they actually just ran faster times than Wendlinger did. So this could be a great three-way fight very quickly.
While we watch the GTS class, let's just mention that second place has just changed hands. Puro has gotten around the Muller BMW, so the two Audis now run 1 and 2 overall. And notice the Donahue car there without some front headlights.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a problem. You know, I doubt it at this stage. I think if the rain had been heavier, it'd be something to worry about. But the longer this day goes on, the better the track gets. And you can see that there are a few of the cars have actually shut off their wipers, even with the spray coming up from other vehicles. They're still not worried. They've turned the wipers off. Still a few have them on.
So are we getting to a point now where anybody might be contemplating stopping for slick tires?
Yes, I think that's a very good point. And the one thing that a lot of these fellas will be contemplating is driving as smoothly as possible, and when you get the opportunity, go offline. Rain tires, because you're so much less rubber, because of these big narrow grooves and a softer rubber, they can overheat in a heartbeat. As soon as that happens, then you're in a real slide situation. It's like driving a sprint car. So you want to try and keep the tires as cool as possible. Two ways: a little bit on the rain once in a while and drive very, very smoothly. That will benefit the smoothest drivers here.
Watching Wendlinger try and close in on Andy Pilgrim. Here comes Pilgrim in and out of the picture. Now Wendlinger coming around the corner to turn number 10, the final one here at Mosport. And off onto the pit straight.
Boy, it is close. And just for you people at home, they are running 0.3 of a second apart now. Pilgrim has responded, and he now is slightly quicker than Wendlinger, the guy we're watching right there.
Yeah, 0.3 of
Oh, and there's a Porsche off the track. Oh, he got away with it.
0.3 of a second lap times you're talking about, not 0.3 of a second on the racetrack.
That's correct.
Yeah. That was the one of the Alex Job machines. Mike Fitzgerald and Bob Nagel, the co-drivers on that one, that had an off-course excursion. They had a spin, actually 2 spins, earlier in the race when the rain first started coming down. There you see Fitzgerald as he continues to wheel that Porsche.
What a perfect day for Alex Job. They just haven't had a wheel go wrong on this car, really.
On the other car. This is the one that's had the 2 spins.
No, I mean on the leading car.
Yeah.
Get a foot off that line, it's disaster.
Here's one of the Vipers. David Donahue's car leaving pit road. Does he have slick tires on?
Yeah, we can't tell. We just cannot see from that view. As brilliant as our cameramen are, it's just not good enough to tell. Maybe Martin or Steve can let us know later on, but I would be surprised if they gamble with this much water on the track.
Well, that's a pit exit though. Once he gets out on the racing line, it's not going to be that wet.
No, you can see, like going down 2 right there, the line basically is okay, and along here coming up into 3, that's fine. But again,
to make a pass, and again, there the Audi just went deliberately offline to try and get some water onto his tires. To make a pass, you can be sure the car you are trying to pass is not going to move off the dry line for you. No way. He's going to make you go past on the wet. Well, if you're trying to outbrake somebody who slicks on the wet, it's not going to happen. That's third place overall right there. The BMW coming back in the pits, the number 42 car. Now here's a GTS battle. We're going to go back to this. There is the Corvette, and not that far behind is the big Viper that is desperately trying to keep their win streak going.
Florida's Andy Pilgrim in the Corvette trying to pull the upset. It would, I think, be an upset if the Corvette wins today, just because the Viper has basically been undefeated.
They have. I mean, they maybe have the most remarkable record I've ever seen. And they've committed this American Le Mans Series. They have had a perfect record. Every pole position and every win and every race fastest lap and I think every best champagne celebration and every on and on and on. Their Vet come in here and got a pole. What a great story.
Look at the distance from the yellow Vet back to the red Viper that was just coming into the top of the screen.
And let's see here. I show Andy just ran a 29.9 and the Viper a 30.1, so 0.2 of a second apart. But at least Pilgrim in the Corvette is stretching it out just a tiny bit.
This car lost the lead when it came down pit road for a stop, and Ron Fellows was getting out, but parked it a little farther away from the pit wall than the fuel rig could reach. They lost time jockeying the car back in so they could get the fuel hose hooked up, gave the lead to the Viper, but then reclaimed it, Pilgrim making the pass on the racetrack, and has held the top spot ever since from Carl Wendlinger, who continues to pursue him. And we continue to see smoke coming out from the back of the lead Audi, but he continues steaming along at full clip as we close in on the finish of the Grand Prix of Mosport. We'll take a break, come back for the finish in just a minute. You're watching the American Le Mans Series on Speed Vision. Oh, is the second place car off?
No, there's the number 78 car. Well, they were pushing a little too hard, and he is stuck in the gravel.
Pirro is off, tangled up with the Porsche of Philip Collin and stuck in the gravel trap. He's getting out.
And I think he's going to go and strangle the other driver right now. Yeah. He's saying, why? Why did you do this?
Wow. Oh, the second place car is off with 9 minutes left in the race when he was catching the leader by 7 seconds a lap.
Man, if I were that other driver, I think I'd keep my helmet on right about now.
This could be a discussion. Their sportsmanship.
They're announcing their engagement right after the race.
That is sportsmanship. Let's take a look at what happened. This is down the straightaway, headed for turn 8, I believe.
That is unbelievable. Now, why that Porsche driver decided to do that is beyond me. Madness. He had no reason to go from the left side of the track over to the right. That's a high-speed error. The Audi would have been approaching at 175 miles an hour.
Here's another look at it.
Look at this. Great. There's no reason to do that. Absolutely not. You could see marks on the pavement back there. The Audi was under hard deceleration trying to avoid him. The nose of the Audi probably went right under the Porsche, lifted it off the ground. That's what's dented that rear panel right there.
You know, from looking at that, I think the Porsche saw the Audi coming and said that the left side of the track, driver's left is the line. I'm going to get offline and give it to you, but the problem is it's too late.
You never do that. You never do that. Now, the GT battle, look at Wendlinger right there. You can see the back of the Viper coming out. He's carrying his braking so deep into the corner. We saw him at the finish of the Daytona 24, a stirring performance holding off the Corvette. The Corvette tried so hard to come and beat it in the 24-hour race. This is a terrific battle.
This race has been filled with things from top to bottom. As we watch the GTS battle, let's go down to Steve Evans on pit road.
Well, Martin was talking about Alec McNish chewing his fingernails. I'll tell you, Ron Fellows and the bow tie brigade here for going to need a psychiatrist in the morning. Looked at his fingernail. They're long. God, it's nothing left to chew. They are so concerned about fuel. They would hope they'd get another yellow. They're not going to. But I don't think it's much different. Up at the same concerns are true there.
And we apologize for Steve's mic cutting out. Also, just want to say, sorry we don't have the onboard cameras today because the helicopter's grounded by the weather. Here is the race for the GTS lead. Wendlinger to the inside of Collins.
Oh, no, man. Andy Pilgrim just got snookered. That's all right. It's so exciting. Andy Pilgrim just got snookered there by Wendlinger up the inside. That is a place where some very dramatic passes have taken place in the past. Watch this. Pilgrim is fighting back. He is not going to give up. Andy Pilgrim is a very, very talented driver, very smart.
7 minutes to go in the race, and the GTS lead changes hands. Carl Wendlinger by Andy Pilgrim. Smoke in the tires under the brakes.
And that was great. Andy just created that himself by keeping so much pressure on Wendlinger. He drove him in so deep into that corner that Wendlinger lopped up the tires. This is a great battle. This is what the people stay to watch.
While we're watching this...
And getting loose, too.
While we're watching this, let's just mention that when the second Audi went out, you thought that took the pressure off of Capello on the rain tires, but the BMW and Muller are running 7 seconds a lap faster than the leader is. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Here he comes. Here's Capello, still on the rain tires, and Muller on the slicks, 30 seconds behind, 6 minutes to go in the race. And 7 seconds a lap faster.
Do the math. Yeah, the BMW is going to catch him.
He could catch him.
Oh, my. Well, I did say that they were not invincible, and this is one of those days when it looks like they are vulnerable. And there's GTS battle. You can see it hasn't gone away either. That Andy Pilgrim has not been blown away by the Viper. He is staying as close as he can, pushing. And, you know, I've been watching the back end of the Viper. It seems to be really sliding a lot. I wonder if he hasn't perhaps overheated the tires. Unlikely, yes.
Here's the spot that Pilgrim gave up the lead to Wendlinger in class. Not going to put a move on there. And remember, Steve said that there were fuel concerns on the Corvette. I would say the desire to win is so great.
Yes.
Forget the fuel conservation.
Yes.
Let's go.
I agree. You give it everything you possibly can at this point.
If you run out of fuel, you run out of fuel. That's the way it goes.
Well, this is just a great battle. You know, again, I'm so surprised. The back of the Viper seems to dance along. Oh, no, that's not going to be a pace car incident either. It looks like relatively light contact. We're down to about 2 minutes left in this race.
That's Guy Smith, the 4th place car in the radar, off into the tire barrier and getting out.
Boy, how
finish there is done.
He had such a great job going too. They were running 4th place. That was just the highlight of the year for them. But here, Andy Pilgrim, one more time down into the hairpin. Watch the Viper under braking. Now, looked fine that time, pretty stable. And keep in mind,
pushing.
Oh boy, Andy is he is doing everything possible. Keep in mind this other huge battle right here. Andy Pilgrim in the Corvette is on Goodyear tires. The Viper is on Michelin's, which also have been undefeated up to this point. So this would be major bragging rights for Goodyear to finally have a tire come back that is this. In fact, they can already brag. They've done their homework, and they obviously have a very competitive tire.
Next time the leader comes back to the start-finish line, he will get the white flag. Ronaldo Capello in the Audi trying to hold off Jörg Muller in the BMW. The difference down to 11 seconds now between them. As we get set for the final lap of this event, the question is, there's the leader there. Can he hold that 11-second interval or enough of it to get back to the checkered flag?
Well, I think so. I mean, unless this oiling problem really turns out to be something horrendous, that there's just a catastrophic failure in the last lap, it looks like he has enough left, and he has responded. He's been running 120s, where Lato and Mueller are running 114s. They're much, much quicker, but 11 seconds back.
Wendlinger smoke again. Trying to carry as much speed as he can and stay in front of Andy Pilgrim in the Corvette.
Well, the Canadian race fans and marshals alike just enjoying this so much. Now watch and see the flag stand as we go underneath right. There it is. So one lap.
There's the BMW back of the frame. Wow. Did you see him? Just caught a glimpse of him.
This is great. What a
down to 4 seconds. The difference between the two. Final lap of the race. Capello on the rain tires.
And traffic
Muller
ahead.
on the slicks. Trying to make the final lap charge here at Mosport. Here he comes, back of the picture, into the traffic.
Well, this could make up for Muller. We all remember last year his day of horror at Road Atlanta at Petit Le Mans when he went off on with just a couple of laps to go. But look how close he's getting. Oh, it's amazing. And he's got one car between. He's got to go out of the damp a little bit, but basically now he's got a clear shot.
Half a lap to go. They're at Moss Corner, turn 5 out of 10.
Oh, this is going to be so close. And look at the Audi again, looks slow off that corner. Muller is going to get him. He will get him.
Down the Andretti straightaway. Final couple of quarters coming up. Here comes Muller looking to find a way around Capello in the Audi. It's Audi and BMW. Now down to the final few quarters as they approach turn number 8.
Under braking. Look at the BMW close. He's going to pick up a lot through this corner. Now watch him to try and take the same type of passes what just happened with Wendlinger.
Here they come to the final corner.
No, he got blocked. He's going to go to the outside and take one shot of acceleration. Can he do it?
Drag race off the final turn. Here he comes. Inside the Audi wins.
Holy man.
Ronaldo Capello And look at McNish in the celebration. Wow.
Holy gee, what a finish. Now for the GTS.
Here they come, Wendlinger leading, Andy Pilgrim trying to find his way back around. They're on the straightaway, headed for turn number 8.
And you know where Pilgrim would love to put the pass on Wendlinger, the same spot where he got past, but I don't think so. That Viper looks like it's got loads of speed up the straight. He got a good launch off the hairpin. You see the back end dancing under braking. He went as deep as he possibly could, and he's closing a little bit.
Well, he could use the front bumper.
Oh, look how close they're getting.
Here they come, final corner, the right-hand lap car there. Here comes Pilgrim drawing up onto the back bumper. Wendlinger is going to hold on and score the victory for Dodge. Undefeated since they joined the American Le Mans Series here at Mosport 1 year ago.
Wow.
6 races in 99, now 6 in 2012 for 12 for Team Viper.
And the GT battle is going to be Alex Job Racing, the same winner as last year. What a great day. Look at the celebration from the crew up there against the wall. A relatively uneventful day for them, but well deserved, guys.
Bruno Lambert and Randy Popes joined the team in victory circle, having scored the GT class win, wire to wire for them. They never gave up the division lead. And how about that Audi? What a dramatic finish. Fight right down to the finish in the GTS class with the Wendlinger Beretta team in the Viper winning out over Pilgrim and Fellows in the Corvette. And the GT class win, Alex Job Racing. Lambert and Popes, dominating performance, led all the way, wire to wire in the GT class. Let's go hear from our GTS and GT class victors. We start with Steve Evans.
And boy, are they happy, Carl. You needed slicks. If you pitted to get them, you lose. Courage drive. It really was. Very courageous.
It went very well until the end, and I think 15 laps before the end, I asked them on the radio if it's not better to put slicks because it's so dry already, and they told me when you put slicks, we lose the race, so try your best on the rain tires. And then I think compared to the other car with our Michelin tire, especially the end, when it dried more and more up, we had a still better grip, and so I could still overtake him.
Congratulations, the Viper streak stays alive, Martin Haven.
Bruno Lambert.
False start at the very beginning of the race, to penalties to the eventual winner, the 11 lead changes, 5 safety cars, the rain, the drying track conditions, the tire strategies. What a day. And it was very enjoyable by the end of it with the Audi team coming out on top, but just barely. We talked at the very top of our broadcast how they were the ones everyone was pointing at to beat. Almost didn't come true today, but they survived everything that was thrown at them and still wound up with the trophy.
They really did, and I think that shows the depth of the team where they can come back from so many different things happening to them, put on such an impressive performance, and that's something that everybody aspires to. You look at teams when they start, the amateur teams when they build up. Team Audi is the best in the world right now. That's the team to shoot for. That's the team to admire and to try and emulate.
Second straight win for McNish and Capello in the American Le Mans Series as they pop open the champagne here shortly in the winner's circle. It's been a wild day, as you can see, here in Mosport, but we enjoyed every minute of it. For Bill Adams, Steve Evans, and Martin Haven, I'm Alan Bestwick. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage of the American Series Grand Prix of Mosport. The winners, Alan McNish and Ronaldo Capello in the Audi R8. Thanks for joining us. You've been watching the American Le Mans Series on Speed Vision.